any buffering that we've seen here, but welcome back to my stream if indeed you are returning after only a couple of minutes away. And it remains 0-0 here, locked at 0-0 between Manchester United and West Ham United from Old Trafford. So greetings once more. So welcome back once more. Another technical issue to compete with just these last couple of moments. There's been a few this first half. It's been more eventful for me than it has probably across the match itself. But just see, bringing you up to speed with the play, Masuaku foul by Pogba. So an early, well not an early free kick, but probably the first, I understand, free kick of the match so far for West Ham, who can launch it in here with plenty of numbers forward, including Winston Reid and Marko Arnautovic over the ball. And what can he do here with this delivery? It's a bit of a disappointing ball in, to be fair. He went for the low ball to catch his opponents offside, but it's only resulted in a breakaway, a counter-attack for Manchester United, who can't convert. So Zabaleta this time thwarting Rashford. And welcome back instantly, everyone, to the live coverage, commentary coverage of the game between Manchester United and West Ham from Old Trafford. I'm Stefan from Stefanzine, and greetings. If you've just joined us, it remains 0-0 between Man U and West Ham, with Manchester United going into the game as we just see a shot from Nemanja Matic of all people, and we know he's capable from that kind of range, from all of probably 30 or 25 yards out there. Nemanja Matic seeing his shot cannoning into the on-rushing defender, as West Ham are able to come out, and Chicharito is eventually found, the iconic Mexican player, of course, Chicharito. So welcome back if you're just joining us, and apologies for any technical difficulties that we saw over the last couple of moments, but we are very much back in earnest here with Stefanzine. And Stefan, your commentator, yours truly here, filling you in on goings-on at Old Trafford as the match pans out, and we're just over half an hour into proceedings here at the home of the Red Devils. So it's pumped in to Lukaku, but he can't retain possession that first touch, albeit it's probably not quite culpable there. Mkhitaryan does look to win the ball, but it's a foul conceded by Pogba in the lead up to that bit of play. So Pogba incensed, or rather bemused as to why he's conceded the foul, but he has indeed, and it's Bonner out to Masuaku on the left side for West Ham United. It's going to come back out this time to Winston Reid. So West Ham look to build patiently from the back. Let's see what they can muster here. Bonner goes long, and it's probably going to be a feature of their play, you feel, that they're going to have to resort to that. Looking to find Arnautovic this time out wide left. Bailly with a neat little turn away incidentally from his opponent there, and it's come back to Fernandez, the slender Swiss international, inside the centre of the park there for West Ham, and Masuaku with a neat bit of skill inside this time. Obiang, who's seen his pass charged down, and it's retained, or rather recovered instantly by Rashford, who can run at players here, who can look to bear down a goal. That's an excellent through ball, and there's a 1-0. Romelu Lukaku is off the mark. It's 1-0 to Manchester United, so there we have it. As we bring you up to speed here, let me just fill you in. Well, there we go. The deadlock is broken. It was a chance which seemed for a split second to have gone begging. But there we have it. Romelu Lukaku. So much fanfare here straight away at Old Trafford brilliant block from Nemanja Matic to break up play. It enabled Marcus Rashford to run from deep and run all of probably 30 yards, setting Lukaku free. He seemed to have shot wide for a split second there, but Rashford bearing down on goal, cutting inside slightly and just threading through a great reverse ball with the diagonal run made by Lukaku, obliging the young Englishman and latching on to the through ball to see his shot ricochet off the far post and into the far corner, having initially seemed to have passed the chance up. But he's definitely converted, so it's the very first goal. He's opened his account in earnest now, hasn't he? Romelu Lukaku, first competitive match domestically, of course, the opening game of the season for him, and he's scored. So 1-0 to Manchester United after 35 minutes here at Old Trafford, and there we have it. The long-awaited, or much-awaited, much-anticipated first goal in United colours for Romelu Lukaku. So it's 1-0 to Manchester United, as I've just related to you guys. Thanks for joining us, if indeed you have just tuned in. 1-0 at Old Trafford, and United very much on top and finally getting their just rewards after a good first half thus far. A long overdue goal, you might say, if you're a United supporter and feel that your side has warranted a goal already. It's finally come, 10 minutes outside of the interval, and it's none other than Romelu Lukaku, the clinical Belgian, converts to open his account for United here. So, a great start for the Belgian, as we see Arnautovic, the Austrian, frustrated and not being able to latch quite onto that loose ball. So 1-0 to Manchester United, and again Romelu Lukaku is the goal scorer after 35 minutes. So there you have it. And exciting times for the Red Devils, as we so speak, in that it was Nemanja Matic who was able to initially win the ball in the centre of the park, as we're so accustomed to seeing him do, of course, albeit he rather blocked a pass rather than made a full tackle, if you like. But the subsequent ball fell kindly to Marcus Rashford, who was able to gallop forwards and cover all of, 30-35 yards before unleashing, or rather threading through an incisive ball into the path of Romelu Lukaku, who converted from 5 or so yards across the goalkeeper. Initially his effort looked to have actually gone wide, but hit one post and ricocheted off the next, specifically the far post, to finally nestle in the back of the net, much to the delight of the United supporters here, as we see Antonio Valencia marauding down the right flank once more for United, and he's found Rashford on the far side with a diagonal ball across. Rashford outside finds Daley Blind, and they have to come back somewhat here, but Pogba recycles the ball out to the Dutchman again. It's afforded too much room, it must be said, to subsequently whip another telling ball in there. So yet another corner for Daley Blind to come across to take, and it's becoming a theme of this first half. United corners, particularly across, or rather from this near left side, as we see Pogba jostling the position inside the 6-yard box, and it's a headed chance almost for Eric Bailly, and Mkhitaryan will come away with the ball, albeit decides to go back and feeds Phil Jones into play, and Antonio Valencia now retaking up a position on the right flank to play in Rashford, who's since been fouled. So it remains 1-0 here at Old Trafford. Just some moments ago, a couple of minutes actually it was, when Romelu Lukaku opened his United account after being threaded through by strike partner Marcus Rashford. So a promising, positive attacking start by United, albeit somewhat overdue on the evidence so far of the game, in which they dominated possession and sat quite comfortably in West Ham's half for the majority of the first half so far. And we've just got a couple of minutes remaining in it, just over 5, so we'll see how things pan out in that time. Joe Hart only really caught interaction for the goal, it must be said, and perhaps wasn't ready for it in many respects. He hasn't otherwise had to make a save of note, but certainly with Lukaku's strike, that's been the one thing that's a busy him. So Nemanja Matic now coming away with the ball, and he's retained possession well held. That's a neat little that's brilliant skill. Much to the amusement here of the fans at Old Trafford. Nemanja Matic stepping out of midfield, his deep-lying midfield position with the ball, and finding his way out to the right flank, where he eventually coughed up possession, but not for want of trying, certainly. Quite a remarkable run there for Nemanja Matic there. As we see Pablo Zabaleta over the throw of the snare right side for West Ham United, playing in Javier Hernandez, the former United man, of course. Chicharito looks to cross, but he's having to come back and revert to, well, he's done well actually on his left foot to bring that back, and it's into the path for a split second of Fernandez, who was able to get a shot away, and consternation across the back line there for a split second among the Manchester United players as they eventually clear, and it's Juan Mata now on the ball, who can likewise launch the ball upfield and search Mkhitaryan, but it'll be Joe Hart who brings the ball out with a long raking pass, and he's found only Rashford though with the subsequent second phase play, and Mkhitaryan's offside, so very sensibly decides to leave that ball, and it's Winston Reid who will take the resulting set piece short to Zabaleta. The Kiwi, of course, Winston Reid, the New Zealand captain, and he'll spray the ball out wide to Ogbonna, his central defensive partner. So it's one thing that West Ham need to really do if they want to establish a foothold in the game. They need to build up a series of passes and just contain, or rather keep possession and the ball moving here, and they do so quite well on this occasion. Zabaleta set free on the right flank, but he's not going to be able to retrieve that. Great defending, it must be said. Retreating was Marcus Rashford, coming all the way back to a left back berth to cover for his colleague there. So just another glance at another rather glimpse of the goal on my replay screen here. Lukaku set free, and indeed the ball ricocheted initially off the near post, found the far post, bounced off that, and then finally settled in the back of the net. So Romelu Lukaku, for a moment there, might have felt like the world was against him, but indeed it wasn't. He got his just rewards eventually after the ball seemed to take an age to finally nestle in the net, and it eventually did. So Manchester United will surely now take this lead into the interval, which is just a couple of moments away with us, or from us now. So 42 minutes into this one, Manchester United 1, West Ham United 0. And Romelu Lukaku opening his account after just 35 minutes. So West Ham, meanwhile, trying to get a foothold in this match across the first half, in which they've clearly been second best. And it's been their inability really to keep the ball, as we finally see they're making an effort, a concerted effort now to do so, with this time Chicharito fouled, or rather cynically fouled, clipped by Eric Bailly, the Manchester United centre-half. So the first booking, I believe, of the match going to Eric Bailly, the man who did so well last season after coming into the side as a relative unknown from Villarreal originally in La Liga, and hadn't been playing professional football for too long before that. So still really in the infancy of his professional career, you could say, really. Still a young man as well, Eric Bailly, as we see Masuaku, the marauding left back of West Ham, with a chance to run at players, and he's not quite won a free kick. I thought for a second there he had, but he's just seen the ball roll out of play there rather disappointingly, as it so turns out. So Swansea versus Manchester United, incidentally, coming up next weekend, and Man City against Everton as well. One of the calendar fixtures to look out for on the 21st of August. So again, next weekend, in fact 7 days exactly from now, next Sunday afternoon, in fact this time next Sunday itself, that match. So thanks once more, guys, for tuning into this live feed, this live stream, live commentary of the match between Manchester United and West Ham United. I'm Stefan, reporting as ever for Stefanzine today, and apologies if you were actually tuning in initially across the first third of this game, probably the first third or first quarter of this match. I did experience some difficulties, some technical issues at short notice, which I had to contend with, and I'm sure the stream actually buffered or even cut out completely at one point there, and has since been retrieved at short notice there. So thanks for putting up with that if indeed that was the case, and welcome. It's practically half time here as we reach 45 minutes just on the clock, and it's 1-0 to Manchester United. Again, you're watching live with Stefanzine, so stay tuned. So Deli Blind out to Nemanja Matic. Well, that's a neat turn. Nemanja Matic coolly inside. And, wow, he's done brilliantly there. And again, Pogba with a drag back around with the studs, just peeling the ball back in that Maradona-like fashion there. So a neat turn initially from Matic, and then under the intent of the quick press with the player committing, Paul Pogba was able just to nick it past him with a neat turn, just combing the ball back on his right foot with his studs, and player pass, but it's since been turned over here, and West Ham can mount a promising attack if Andre Ayew can find the right pass. He does indeed. It's inside Arnautovic, and there's a strike from Fernandes. Wow, it's easily the best moment of the match by a country mile, it really must be said, from West Ham United, and in the process it looks like they've suffered an injury here to the man who had the strike, Fernandes, the young Swiss. In fact, he incidentally gets bang in the way of colleague Andre Ayew to see his shot, well, parried by De Gea as we've reached now. It's certainly half-time. Just half-time between Manchester United and West Ham United, and the final action of the match sees West Ham United with an opportunity, clearly the best of the half for the visitors, with Fernandes' shot parried from short range, well, relatively close range there. It was roughly 18 yards out from Fernandes there, seeing his shot saved by De Gea, but was able to strike it quite flush on the half volley under the attention of Andre Ayew. In fact, the two colleagues got in there each other's way. So somewhat disappointing if you're a West Ham fan, I'm sure, but very promising late on for the visitors as we now enter half-time. So very shortly I'll be back with the second half. I might even check in before then, but until then, so please wait just another 15 minutes or so, if that, in fact, to hear the rest of the match with the second half. So apologies for the outage just now. It's Stefan here once more, returning for the second half. And speaking, of course, as ever, about Manchester United and West Ham, as I'm covering the live game here as we so speak. Just looking at the first half highlights here as we see Lukaku's goal going in. So the second half is now upon us, just as I speak here. And it remains 1-0 to Manchester United after 45 minutes. That's right, Romelu Lukaku opening his account for the Red Devils on 35 minutes. So it was really a long time coming for Manchester United with a lot of concerted pressure, and eventually something did give, and that gift, if you like, was the first goal for Romelu Lukaku in United colours. So a very promising start for the man with much pressure on him, really, it must be said. He's got a big season ahead for sure, coming to the peak of his career, no less. So Romelu Lukaku, the difference between the two sides here, and welcome back if you are just rejoining us. I'm certainly just rejoining you, and I'm trying to make sure I've steadied the ship here. So hi, say hi on the chat if you like. Please be respectful, and I'll hopefully reply if I get a chance. So it remains 1-0 to Manchester United. I'm Stefan, reporting, of course, and commentating on this game for Stefan Zine, my YouTube channel. So please like and subscribe. Like this live stream and subscribe to the channel itself, where elsewhere you'll see opinion videos, a bit of football comedy when I feel like it, and a bit of bedroom punditry, if you like. So fan punditry, really, as ever. But for the most part, what I usually try and do, or I have at least been of late, is doing opinion videos. So there's a couple there up which I've done across the last week or so, and prior to that also a couple of interviews I've done, and so forth. So subscribe to Stefan Zine for more of the same. And I'm just bringing you up to speed here with the commentary as we see United take the lead, or rather sit on their lead, which they established in the first half through Romelu Lukaku. So 1-0 to United. So, Antonio Valencia with the throw, and he's going to launch it in towards Lukaku. He's unable to retain the ball as West Ham do well to actually recover it. And Winston Reid now has space to move forward. Only to check back and to look for Zabaleta out wide at right back. He'll come short to Andre Ayew, who's hoping to go into the game. He looked promising in the first half, but was never really allowed to settle into the match, it must be said. Andre Ayew. So now, Winston Reid again, this time feeding it into Andre Ayew once more. And Obiang in the centre of the park, looking to receive as West Ham enjoying a concerted spell of possession here. And Mark Noble will recycle the ball once more. So West Ham with a bright start to the second half, albeit they've not really penetrated as yet. But keeping the ball, which is really something they didn't manage to do at all in the first half. And you can understand perhaps that being the case, having to defend so heavily from the likes of Lukaku and company. But keeping the ball capably here as we see Noble once again. So just to bring you up to speed once more, and indeed if you are just joining the match itself, the team lineup. So in goal for United, De Gea. Across the back for it's Bailly, Jones, Valencia on the flank, and on the opposite flank, Daley Blinch. And inside midfield, Nemanja Matic, Paul Pogba, Henrik Mkhitaryan. Out wide is Juan Mata. And elsewhere, Marcus Rashford and Romelu Lukaku. And for the visitors, so we see Joe Hart in goal. We have Winston Reid and Ogbonna at centre half. Zabaleta on the right. On the left is Masuaku. Inside at the midfielders, Mark Noble, of course. He's partnered by Obiang. Then we have Andre Ayew and Fernandes in there, and obviously Chicharito up front for West Ham. I hope that's covered everyone. I haven't missed anyone out, for sure. And it's 1-0 so far to Manchester United, of course. So apologies for the lack of commentary in the last couple of moments, but I can assure you it's still 1-0 to Manchester United, and West Ham growing into the game all the same with some concerted possession, looking a little bit more productive, albeit patient with their play. Mark Noble and so forth collected the ball off the back four, and they're starting to grow into the match, so hopefully we're going to see more of the same across the best part of the second half. To make, of course, the contest a bit more open as ever. So, Marcus Rashford in my screen right now, and it's Manchester United free kick, so winning the foul there, Rashford, and over the ball here is Daley Blind. Remains to be seen what can be served up here. So Manchester United with a free kick out wide left. It's going to be swung in, it appears, by Daley Blind. And there's a full complement of players inside that 18-yard box, including goal scorer Romelu Lukaku, Paul Pogba, and well, with some jostling going on. Free kick not yet being dispatched, but we'll see what's on the cards here. In fact, it's Juan Mata who whips it in. It's a lovely clip. Oh, it's 2-0! It is 2-0! Romelu Lukaku just like that, and arms outstretched in celebration. Would you believe it? And I'll just bring in some of the crowd noise here in response to that goal. So hopefully you can hear the crowd noise coming in response to that headed goal from Romelu Lukaku. Afforded too much room at the near post, it must be said, really unchallenged. Masuaku is the defender closest to him, as we see the replay on our screen here. And he just afforded too much time and space to knoll that into the near post. Really, I mean, the criminal thing from Masuaku is that he didn't cover. He didn't really get goal side enough to prevent Lukaku from heading goalward and nodding the ball into an open net, really, as Joe Hart was stranded. So, just spoke of the free kick taking forever to be swung in, but eventually, when it was, by Juan Mata, there, ready and waiting, was, of course, as ever, Romelu Lukaku to nod home for Manchester United and score his and the club's second goal of the afternoon. So, a very, very promising start to the season, it appears, for Manchester United. Always so much expectation pinned on the famous Red Devils, and that's going to do Romelu Lukaku's confidence a world of good. 2 goals either side of the break for the Belgian, and well, it was trademark Lukaku, really, a set-piece delivery, winning the ball in the air again. For me, a rather feeble challenge from Masuaku. The biggest criticism you could have, he didn't cover, he didn't get in front, he didn't try at least hard enough to get in front of Lukaku, albeit he's up against a very strong specimen, of course, in the Belgian. Now, once he did latch onto the ball, of course, Lukaku is really heading into an open net, so, well, an unchallenged net, let's say. Joe Hart really stranded, unable to even make an attempt to get down and save the ball as it practically arrived at his feet, or rather on the other side of the goal. So, little chance for Joe Hart on his West Ham debut, but very much a welcome sight for Romelu Lukaku. And sure, of course, these Manchester United fans around the ground, as you can hear, very impressed at Lukaku's second goal of the night, of the day rather, and that's going to lift all these United supporters around the ground for sure. But of course, we still have just over half an hour remaining, so let's not get too carried away as neutral observers, of course. But for the viewers here amongst us, I'm sure you'll be pleased that this game is delivering finally after a somewhat subdued opening initially, as we just see a replay of the Lukaku goal. The second one. So I think he's going to grab all the headlines certainly in tomorrow's papers, you'd imagine, Romelu Lukaku, for the right reasons, of course, and it's a credit to him. A hard-working, honest individual who's had to bide his time across England's top flight with other clubs, perhaps lesser clubs, it could be argued. But all the same, he's managed to justify the faith initially shown in him, it must be said, at Chelsea by Mourinho himself, who was brave enough to take a second chance on him. And I'm sure Lukaku, having been originally rejected, you could say, by Mourinho, was willing enough to himself accept the opportunity. So West Ham barely able to get out of their own half. It's turning a bit pear-shaped, in fairness, with them in my matter of what is enough room, and it's Rashford again. It's Mkhitaryan, but he's offside. Well, suddenly, out of very little there, another attack broke for Manchester United, but this time Mkhitaryan quite blatantly is seen as offside. Well, I say blatantly, but initially it was quite marginal. The retreating defender was actually keeping the Armenian onside. I believe it was Zabaleta. So if you're just joining us, thanks for tuning in indeed. I'm Stefan from Stefanzing, bringing you live commentary of this match between Manchester United and West Ham United. Of course, the final fixture, incidentally, of this opening round of the Premier League season for 2017-18, which promises, on the evidence of the last 48 hours or so, to be a cracker of a season. So I'm sure you're all pretty encouraged at what we've seen so far. Indeed, in this match alone, 2 goals already, just to keep you up to speed, from Romelu Lukaku, either side of the break. So a second goal just coming moments ago from a set piece and a subsequent header, simply nodding the ball home after one Mutter's clip into the box. So United fans very happy, I'd imagine, right now, as we see the home side strolling with a 2-0 lead. Famously a precarious lead, a dangerous lead, but on the evidence of what I'm seeing unfold here, it certainly looks pretty comfortable. Meanwhile, Masuaku and Fernandes combining to set free Marko Arnautovic in the penalty box to a half chance, or more than a half chance really, for West Ham. Marko Arnautovic actually doing very well, in fairness, to latch on to what was an awkward looping ball across, but a decent cross of that from Fernandes. And we see images here belatedly of Jose Mourinho dashing, running out of his off his seat rather, and onto the field almost, to confront the referee. I mean, not quite, but certainly he had plenty to say, the Mourinho, seemingly directed at the referee. We'll come back to that in a moment, but for now, let's just return to proceedings on the pitch as they unfold. So 2-0 to Manchester United after 60 minutes. In fact, yep, 60 minutes. almost exactly here at Old Trafford. So half an hour to go. We'll see what, of course, pans out. But United looking very comfortable as we see new signing, new West Ham recruit, Arnautovic, falling to the deck here, and some discomfort after it was Valencia. Oh, Valencia's in late there on Arnautovic. Just trod on his foot and apologises in fairness immediately, the Ecuadorian. But in a similar incident to what we saw incidentally just a couple of hours ago in the game involving Newcastle and Spurs at St James's Park, you might have heard there was a sending off involving Jonjo Shelvey and Dele Alli, where Jonjo Shelvey trod quite deliberately in that case on the ankle of Dele Alli. But here, Valencia instantly apologetic, nothing quite like that, thankfully, for Arnautovic and indeed neutrals and indeed United fans. So not even a caution for Valencia on that one, thankfully. So Arnautovic seems to be okay, albeit now, incidentally, we have one of the youngsters just entered the fray. So this is very good to see. One of the West Ham Academy players has entered the fray on debut. And we'll just cut back to that in a moment as we see the play unfolding. It's Sacco as well has come on. So the much maligned Sacco West Ham, the man who seems to have been frozen out and missing in action really. He's been largely anonymous across the last couple of years, indeed, says Mamadou Sacco from of West Ham United. But he's just come on here for the visitors, who look to mount some sort of response. And indeed it's whipped in dangerously. Headed clear, only half clear, it must be said, by Daley Blind. And taking up the play again, it's Mkhitaryan with a neat turn. He's around the back here. And his left pub is Zabaleta for dead with a neat bit of skill around the corner, and it's the resulting balls. We just return to the action with Rashford again, herring down the left flank, and he's inside the young West Ham player, just freshly onto the field. We'll get to in a minute. So just bringing everyone back up to speed here. Apologies for the delay in commentary there momentarily. So 62 minutes in, so just half an hour left in this one, and I just want to update you on the substitutions which have just taken place as of a couple of moments ago for the visitors West Ham. Mamadou Sacco, the French footballer, frozen out, or rather missing in action. Sorry, not Mamadou Sacco, apologies there, Diafra Sacco. I think I've said that already more than once. So Diafra Sacco, the West Ham forward, has come on, and he replaces actually missed who went off there in all fairness. So Diafra Sacco has come into the side here as a substitute. So meanwhile we see Mkhitaryan with an excellent opportunity to run it in the centre half there and just get a shot away, but it's into the grateful arms of Joe Hart, so a chance after a neat bit of skill and a great turn of pace from Henrik Mkhitaryan as we just observed the replay here. Hence the excitement from the crowd to the Armenian with a industrious little burst into the box, and he's rather disappointed to have seen his eventual effort go straight into the grateful arms of Joe Hart. It was a great little turn of pace from the Armenian to get away there. A great show of skill as well. And West Ham now growing into the game, just need to retain possession. It's Ogbonna with the ball. He's going to look to find Fernandes, has peeled away again. Not able to complete the knockdown, as it were, to find a colleague. But that neat skill from Nemanja Matic again, just turning away. He's got a bit about him in that department, perhaps not considered as skillful as he perhaps is. Not quite given his due on that one, but Rashford anyway. Again, so meaningful when he breaks on the left, and he's managed to cut inside and get a shot away here. And it's ricocheted off the post. Wow. In the eventual play there, Marcus Rashford hitting the post after cutting in so well, as he always does. And, well, that was definitely heading in. So, another let-off for West Ham. Sure, what a chance that was for Marcus Rashford. Cutting in, like I say, off that left flank. As we just look at the picture again. Fed through initially in by Daley Blind. So thanks for tuning in once more, guys. We've still got just under half an hour left in proceedings here at Old Trafford. It remains 2-0 to Manchester United, and they've definitely seen the better of this first half after a rather indifferent first half in many respects, at least initially. They finally got the breakthrough on 35 minutes through Romelu Lukaku, who has since scored on the other side of the break with a second half goal. A nodded header into the far corner of the net after a set piece from Juan Mata. So it's his two goals which separate the two sides here. And we've since seen just now a great opening for Marcus Rashford, who is desperately unlucky to see his effort ricochet off the far post after cutting inside so well and eluding a couple of West Ham defenders before dispatching his effort.
As Pogba is Mkhitaryan.
So once again, apologies for the delay in proceedings here, at least the radio silence on my part, not speaking the last couple of moments or so. Now it remains 2-0 to United here as we speak, and just making sure the feed's coming through to you guys. I have had some technical issues this last couple of minutes, but it does indeed remain 2-0 to Manchester United after 70 minutes. We just reached that mark of the game, so just 20 minutes left, and to be fair, this game has a certain feel about it now, one of tapering out if you're of the West Ham persuasion. Perhaps, if you are cynical. But, you know, for the optimist, as a neutral, of course, I'd still like to see some sort of response from West Ham, and it's a good deception as I speak from Bonner. So he's momentarily managed to retrieve the ball, but only since seeing his pass intercepted. So meanwhile, we sprang out here to Antonio Valencia, who can whip in a menacing ball. It's far better than Danny Blind! Oh! What is it here? The noise coming through from the ground here. Daley Blind with a flush volley. He's connected so sweetly with the ball at the far post, only to see his effort sail just over the bar at the far post. So Daley Blind coming in from deep from that left fullback position. Latch onto ball from his colleague on the other side, of course, Antonio Valencia, with a deep cross, and coming onto that unopposed was Daley Blind, flush on the volley, but he's only seen his effort sail over the bar. Wow. He's probably kissed the top of the goalpost as it is so turned out. So Daley Blind with a chance late on here relatively late on here for Manchester United. They look to be readying another substitution, at least Mourinho is having words with his assistant. And we see the likes of Fellaini and Damian warming up. It could be Fellaini time, I'm sure, this later on, just to protect the lead and ensure that Manchester United don't come a cropper at the back, and maybe he'll put his elbows about as well, Mr. Fellaini, should he come on indeed shortly. So 2-0, it stays, it remains 2-0 to the Red Devils, looking to really once again cement Old Trafford as a fortress this season, and consolidate their reputation, of course, as a truly famous powerhouse in terms of world football, particularly after that Super Cup final, incidentally, which they lost, and a lot of people felt they were below par. So Masuaku with a throw, incidentally, as we speak, for West Ham. And Chicharito, becoming a frustrated figure, still in the match, but he's not seen a lot of the ball, it must be said. It's been a difficult homecoming of sorts, if you like, for Chicharito. Javier Hernandez, the famous Mexican player, certainly the player of his generation, or one of them, in Mexican footballing terms. A big occasion this for him, let's not forget, but it's not been quite the fairy tale he would have hoped last night, I'm sure. So So 74 minutes in, and United coming away with the ball here. It's another strike, this time Lukaku. From distance this time, he'd come deep to receive the ball. He's able to turn and face the goal, only to see a strike sail over, rather wantingly. This time one matter. Getting involved in the play, and United fans looking confident that they'll see this one out for sure today. Little signs of letting up as we look again at the replay of the second goal for Lukaku not too long ago, just after the half-time interval, more or less nodding United into a comfortable 2-0 lead, as we see the departure of Juan Mata in favour of, yes, that man, as I just spoke about, Marouane Fellaini, coming on to really consolidate United's lead here to make sure they see this one through. And it's an attacking player, of course, giving way to a defensive one, more or less, in Marouane Fellaini. So Juan Mata substituted, and in his place, the Belgian international, who looks to shore up the midfield as ever and prevent any hint of a West Ham revival here. But they've not looked at all promising in attack. They've looked pretty toothless, to be fair, across the course of this game, if truth be told. So Nemanja Matic, who's played excellently, by the way, coming away with the ball, and he's going to go short again to Mkhitaryan, who's again looked very industrious. A lot like the play we saw across the latter part of last season, of course. Mkhitaryan inside to Obiang now for West Ham, who've grown into this one, but they just need to retain the ball a bit better. This time Blint conceding a foul on IU, so they'll get another chance, another bite at the cherry. And by the way, I actually refrained from mentioning earlier, the player that came on some moments ago now was actually a young Irishman, Declan Rice, a very promising academy player from West Ham, actually of the under-23, strictly speaking, but he's getting his first chance, his first team chance straight off the bat with the season opener, so he's come off the bench as of roughly 20 minutes ago. So a belated naming of the substitute from West Ham. He's just sitting in the centre of the park. Declan Rice already looks a very technical, or at least technically minded player on the evidence of what we've seen so far. But he's had to put in quite a defensive shift in all fairness so far as well. Now, Nemanja Matic losing out, and it's a careless giveaway from the Serb, and he's conceded possession to Javier Hernandez. It's out wide this time to IU, who's had to come deep most of this game to receive the ball. He's cut mostly a frustrated figure, but that's a neat ball from Rice to find Masuaku, and he'll look to attack. It's fallen far post, so another bit. This is his chance! Well, that was his chance, if any, of the entire match. Suddenly finding himself completely unopposed in an acres of room at the far stick was Marko Arnautovic controlling the ball. Plenty of time afforded to do that, to just cushion the ball with his left, in fact his right hip, his right knee, rather, and settle himself before preparing to strike the ball. But he never got his body over it, and it sailed rather aimlessly over the bar. And, well, whether that's signs of tiredness or a lack of application or concentration on the part of the Serbian, only he will know. But certainly a chance gone a begging late on here for West Ham, and should they have scored that, that would have made for quite a tasty last couple of moments here at Old Trafford. So that's disappointing if you're of the West Ham persuasion, for sure. That's really not what the doctor would have ordered late on, for sure. This time he looks to turn and get away from Phil Jones, but nothing doing, and in fact he's conceded the foul, and doesn't look too amicable between the two. Arnautovic, of course, very much models his game, you could say, at least his manner, on the famous Ibrahimovic, with a similar name. He's certainly very reminiscent of the Swede, and the way he struts around in his behaviour, if truth be told. Not so much his style of play, a slightly different type of player, of course, both with great attributes, but Arnautovic really, with a long way to go, should he want to grow into the type of player that of course, Ibrahimovic is. Of course, still rumoured to be on his way back to United, incidentally. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, as we see, incidentally, another striker go off. This time it is Rashford in place of another player we don't know too much of the future of, as it stands, Anthony Martial, the French international, coming into the fray late on here with just over 10 minutes to go, looking for a chance to impress. And he's been linked with a loan move, of course, across the course of the summer. A few clubs linked. I believe Inter Milan was one of them at one point. And here we meanwhile see Chicharito dropping really deep and looking to make something happen, but he's only on the halfway line. So a late dash into the box from him, but it depends on Masuaku's delivery, which initially didn't seem bad, but we just saw a shot there of Chicharito remonstrating with himself, and perhaps hoping that Masuaku would notice his frustration as well. So the chance goes a begging for West Ham. And I just spoke there about the delivery needing to be at least half decent from Masuaku, but it wasn't quite, albeit he was able to find himself a decent amount of room initially, a promising patch of space, only to see his cross find the grateful arms of De Gea. So that's actually going to mark the last bit of action for the West Ham left back, Masuaku, who started the game of course, and it's Aaron Creswell, who in many ways he's superseded in that starting berth at left back, who's going to now enter the fray. So Aaron Creswell, of course, so impressive just a couple of years ago, particularly under Sam Allardyce in this West Ham team, but he's had to really play second fiddle in recent times at West Ham, and has had a slew of injuries as well as Aaron Creswell. So he'll be looking to make a promising return both today and in the coming weeks. So 2-0 after 82 minutes here at Old Trafford, so not long at all now to go. But United, to be fair, have looked comfortable, despite having not since increasingly, which they may well have done, with a number of chances and half chances here and there. And meanwhile, we see Lukaku almost latch onto an inviting through ball from Martial, having just entered the field of play just moments ago, but unable to convert this time was the Belgian. In fact, he couldn't quite latch onto the pass itself. His touch just eluded him, albeit the ball was really beyond reach. So thanks once again, guys, for tuning in. We've not yet quite finished here, but we will do so in not too long, as there's only now 8 minutes plus injury time remaining of this game. But again, thanks for tuning in. Just a chance to plug myself as ever, as we see a replay of the second goal once more, Lukaku's goal. So that's not another goal, it's still 2-0. But just a chance to remind you guys, of course, of this channel, what it's all about. So I'm Stefan. This channel's called Stefanzin, obviously named after my name. And I'll be doing these live commentaries now as often as I can with every weekend, mostly across the Premier League, but also I am looking to cover other leagues as well, but for now the Premier League. And in between that, you'll expect to see opinion videos from me most days, or every couple of days. I'll be weighing in with my thoughts on the goings-on in football. Again, chiefly surrounding the Premier League, but also elsewhere, with a series of short videos, and occasionally I might even be doing a bit of football-related comedy and so forth. And you'll also see, incidentally, on my channel an interview I did with Martin Tyler a few years ago now, but I hope to do more interviews as well in the coming months in a similar kind of vein, so stay tuned for that. But for now, let's focus on the match itself. So again, this is one of the first of my live commentaries so far for the season. I hope you have enjoyed it thus far, and again, like I say, next weekend I'll be back covering another match. Obviously, it's only a verbal commentary, and yes, you have to expect that. There's no image, there's no footage or feed coming through. It's simply a audio commentary from me today and in the coming weeks. I can't promise anything more than that, I'm sorry for now. But I hope you have enjoyed the coverage thus far, as we still have just roughly 7+ minutes to go here at Old Trafford, and we'll see what kind of response the visitors particularly can muster here. But in fairness, if we are to be telling the truth, of course, they've not looked likely at all, at least in the last 10 or so, well, probably 20 or so minutes at least. Now, meanwhile, the moment I say that, there's another through ball threaded through, this time to Lukaku. It never really looked like it would pan out, but nonetheless, a great diagonal run made once more for Lukaku. He's so good, it's so adept at just shifting his way to cross the back four at short notice, in a similar vein to Van Persie before him, of course, the former United striker not too long ago, known for just that complexity and nuance of movement, if you will, in his play, and he'd be able to elude defenders at ease. Anyhow, it's recycled after Matic, as we see United mount patiently, it must be said, another attack. Daley Blind, and he's played it inside to Martial. He's afforded plenty of room to turn and go back to Pogba, who's since gone back to Blender. It's back to Pogba again. Paul Pogba, who's looking to kick on the season, of course, and it's Lukaku. That's a knee ball back into his mate Pogba, able to bring it down on his chest, but the attention, the presence of Zabaleta was enough to put off the Frenchman, Paul Pogba, after combining neatly with his great friend, of course, Romelu Lukaku, but unable to profit from the return pass, as it so turned out here. Sorry about the drop out there just now, but yeah, great, a very promising move, suddenly in the offing for United, but they couldn't quite make anything of it. But for the good work, of course, of Zabaleta. So a neat turn this time for Chicharito, and almost a chance out of nothing. Incidentally, as we return to the action, West Ham suddenly via Obiang and then subsequently Chicharito with a neat turn able to thread through the ball, but his pass is really just too heavy for Diafra Sakho, the West Ham striker, in fairness. So Matic now can restart once again for United, and he's found that man Martial once more, and Lukaku will just look to hold up the ball as we expect him to do, of course, this season. And this time he goes around the plate. Oh, he's in. Well, very nearly in with another pop-it goal there, Lukaku. His control eventually just let him down, but he looked to elude. Oh, he's in. Oh, and there we have it. Well, just as we... Well, apologies for... I'm just recollecting that it's 3-0 to United, and just bringing you back up to speed here. Apologies for the slight delay, but it is definitely 3-0, and it's the substitute, Anthony Martial, with the third. Played in initially by Mkhitaryan, and he's latched onto that in a goal very reminiscent of his very first goal for United against Liverpool a year and a half ago. This time off, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. So Anthony Martial with the third goal for United. It's 3-0 to the Red Devils, and well, it's become academic, and that just seals the victory here and now. Anthony Martial put through by Mkhitaryan. His first touch was brilliant, and he was able just to really stroll through unchecked into the 18-yard box and slot past a helpless Joe Hart. So, wow, there we have it. It's definitely turning into something of Groundhog Day for West Ham already, it must be said. But United purring with the addition of the third goal, and surely the goal which will seal the match by Anthony Martial, the Frenchman, the man who's been frozen out really in recent weeks, albeit we've just begun the season. But he's recovered, and well, that's a big goal for him, you'd imagine. Trying in earnest, of course, this season to get into the manager's good books and to start more games, albeit on this occasion he's come off the bench to profit, but he'll be looking to kick on, and really, I think, in fairness, if you're Anthony Martial, you don't want to go out on loan. You stay at the club this season and really make the most of your chances, albeit if you have to start on the bench initially, as he did today. So meanwhile, here he is again on the ball. He just looks so exciting all of a sudden once more. Certainly, like I say, a throwback to when we first began at Manchester United. Those, well, a couple of years ago, not too long ago, of course it was, but certainly across large parts of last season, a lot of people seem to forget just how lethal he was initially for the Red Devils. Meanwhile, here's Pogba getting into space. He's found his shot. It's 3. It's 4-0. It's 4-0. As I bring you back up to speed, well, we just talked about the game being academic and all but over. Now it's most definitely done. Paul Pogba with the addition of a 4th goal. So no fewer than 4 goals scored by the home side this afternoon. And it's the icing very much so on the cake for United, and that's an excellent strike. Paul Pogba opening up his foot, opening up his right foot to just guide the ball unerringly past again, a despairing Joe Hart, and with little protection in front of him, he can do nothing to prevent the ball going across the keeper, and he's quick to thank his compatriot Anthony Martial with Pogba for the assist. So wonderful, wonderful goal. Paul Pogba wrapping up the victory here. It's been a case of friendship all round, really, hasn't it? So Lukaku with 2 goals, Pogba with the latest goal, and sandwiched in between those goals was, of course, Martial's, which was just a couple of moments ago itself. So 2 Frenchmen on the score sheet, and of course the marquee Belgian striker. So 4-0 to United, and well, it's looking pretty bleak for West Ham, it must be said, but let's not get too carried away. This is obviously the opening game away from home, always a tough ask, and they've had promising periods in the match, it must be said, but let's at the same time be completely honest in our assessment of their performance. They've looked rather lacklustre and lacking a true identity, it must be said. So it's backs against the wall for West Ham across the coming weeks for sure, especially after that really damaging season last season where they all told failed to grow into their new ground, of course, the London Stadium, and to really get a foothold in the league, having done so well the previous season. Of course, Payet departing as well, and general unrest at the club. But this summer's been more promising. Obviously, the additions of Arnautovic and Chicharito, Hernandez stand out as 2 really welcome, almost unexpected additions to the side. Here we go with Hernandez actually mustering a chance, which sails just wide as I just touch upon the signing of the Mexican. He wriggles free momentarily to find himself a chance, and he's cut, like I say, quite an isolated figure across the 90 minutes this evening, this afternoon. But they're again taking matters very much into his own hands and going round a couple of players only to see a shot sail wide. Sorry about the cut out of the commentary. The feed just then. So once again, we're just watching the Paul Pogba goal here. The 4th goal, incidentally, opening up his body and slotting the ball past a despairing Joe Hart to make it 4 goals to nothing. So we're into extra time. We're into injury time. Sorry, not injury time. Injury time. Here late on, just a couple of moments, in fact, to go here. Mourinho instantly on the bench, cutting a rather stubborn figure as ever. Not giving too much away in terms of emotion, but shortly he's going to see his side march away with this one by no fewer than 4 goals to 0. In fact, with just a couple of moments left, he looks pretty content. And indeed, there we have it. So full time between Manchester United and West Ham United. It ends 4-0. So a very thoroughly absorbing match, as it turned out, really, in the second half. Not so much the first, but eventually United running out one-sided winners by no fewer, like I say, than 4 goals to 0. So a resounding home victory to open their account for the season. The Red Devils very much in command of this one. In truth, it wasn't the best of contests, but certainly if you're a United persuasion, a thoroughly absorbing encounter, and you'd be very encouraged at what you've seen on show today, particularly with your star man Romelu Lukaku, the new signing, of course. Incidentally, Lindelof did not play today. Elsewhere, of course, goals late on from Paul Pogba, and before that, Anthony Martial. So 2 for star man Romelu Lukaku in the first half. So 1 in the first half and 1 in the second, sort of either side of the break, as it were. And subsequent to that, Anthony Martial, the Frenchman, on the score sheet before Paul Pogba wrapped up the win with a lovely, well-taken strike across Joe Hart, just planting his foot into, or planting the ball rather, into the back of the net with a side-footed finish to round things off here at Old Trafford, and what really became a stroll across the latter part of that match. in the summer sunshine, or rather patchy sunshine, at Old Trafford this afternoon. So United 4, West Ham United 0 it ends, as we see the players now retreating down the tunnel, and United fans very pleased at the result there. So we'll wait on seeing how the table looks just now, but certainly a 4-goal buffer is something to encourage United fans. In fact, I think that might just about put them top, ahead of Huddersfield. So Huddersfield Town, of course, winning 3-0 against Crystal Palace with a very commendable win away from home. But that feat has been surpassed with a home victory by Manchester United today. So very interesting, and it's been an excellent opening weekend. So I just want to conclude the feed here, the live commentary. I've been Stefan, as ever, from Stefanzine, and thanks for tuning in. By all means, do like this live stream and subscribe, more so, to my channel to stay tuned for more videos, including opinion videos, coming up in the next couple of days. Like and subscribe. Cheers.